What's up, YouTube fame? Back again for another thrilling installment. We're doing painting this week mostly, as every other bloody week it seems. More fuck ups, but we get there in the end, thankfully, and it's looking presentable, I guess. So if you want to learn a bit about masking, painting, candying, and all that good shit, then take yourself a seat, grab yourself a coffee, and watch this video. I've not finished it yet, but all the colours are on pretty much. I'm just waiting for decals. I'll explain that at the end. Like I say, a couple of fuck ups along the way, and I've thrown in there a couple of clips. I'm doing my Busa tank. It's getting sanded down and filled and stuff, so I just threw the clips in. Nothing to do with the Bandit, but hey ho, what the fuck. I'm not going through every single clip going, oh, I'll pick that one and I won't pick that one. I just put the whole fucking lot in. So if you don't like it, just skip past that bit. Alright, but I hope you enjoy it. And if you do enjoy it, like down the bottom. And stay tuned for more. Next time we will be hopefully rolling on its own wheels. The frame's curing nicely. Just waiting for a couple of bits to come up the road, and then it'll be wheels on time, hopefully, without any other disasters along the way. So, like I say, grab yourself a cuppa, and hope you enjoy it. Alright, cheers. Woo-ha, the flake has landed again. This is new stuff. Chrome silver large flake. This is the size of it. 400 micron. This is the stuff we used the last time. 200 micron. So this stuff's twice the size. So it'll go through my 1.8 gun just. So we're going to stick some of this on, but I mean, it looks really fucking shiny compared to the holographic. What I might do is, I might put a couple of coats of this on, and then stick a coat of the holographic over the top of it, just to give it some colour, because this is just silver. So if I put one coat of the smaller stuff over the top, and maybe 2 or 3 coats of this, we should get an awesome base for putting candy on. But I mean, even just this would be an awesome base for putting candy on, because it really is pretty damn shiny. So that's today's entertainment. I've only got enough for one coat of this, probably. I'll probably get enough to put in 100 millilitres here, because I used about 40 grams, so there's probably 10 grams in there, but I'll weigh it up, obviously. This bag here, I'll obviously do the same as I did last time. Weigh it up, 20 grams for 200 mil, 10 grams for 100 mil. I'm not putting on more than that. I'll just have to cover, and if it doesn't, well, that's just tough. That's all I'm putting on. So if I put on, say, I might even put just 200 millilitres on of this, see what it looks like, and then put on 100 millilitres of this. But we'll see what it looks like after 200, so I'm going to go and do that just now. I've given these a light scotch with a grey Scotch-Brite, because there's a couple of nibs in it, and a couple on the tailpiece, and a couple on here. Not sure if the camera will pick it up. One there that I sanded, and there was a couple down here. They're not picking up, and you can just see one there. But anyway, so that's us ready to go. Wear your gloves when you're handling these things. Even the moisture off your fingers can put grease into the panel, oil into the panels, and fuck up your paint. So always wear your gloves. Always wax and grease remover before you coat it, which I've done already. So now we're going to mix up some flake and get going. This stuff's mental, honestly. Look at this, look at the flake in that. It's massive. It's also really, really reflective. This is going to look awesome on it. I cannot wait to get it on, just to see how good it looks. I've also upped it. So for my 20 grams, instead of making up 200 millilitres, I've made up about 250. So we'll see how it goes through the gun. I'm a bit concerned about that, because it's a fair difference in size between the other stuff. It's pretty big, but my god, look at the shine on it. That's going to look mental. Can't wait. Let's go. This is why they call it the joys of painting. It's just started fucking raining. Oh, bollocks, and I've mixed up the stuff as well, so I'll stick it in a jar. Thankfully it won't set, and we'll come back to this when it's dry. Fucking weather. Preferred lunch of the custom painter, square sausage and spaghetti hoops. What can go wrong? Preferred beverage of the custom painter, coffee, on sugar, milk, in a flowery cup. Why is it in a flowery mug? Because we're fucking artists, that's how, innit? Back to the seriousness. This rain has just been a passing shower. As you can see, I've left this, and this is what happens. All the flakes sunk to the bottom. So we'll give that a good stir up, stick it back in the gun, I'll go and paint something. Agitate your gun while you're spraying, give it a shake up every now and again. You'll end up clumping metal flake down the neck of it. You don't want that. Alright, let's go. That's the first coat of this flake on. As you can see, coverage is quite good. It's going through the gun okay. It's going all over the fucking place, all over the table, but never mind. And as you can see, I've kept the gun back a bit. You can see the flakes standing up a bit better. So I've got 100 millilitres left. I'm feeling a touch of rain here, so I hope it doesn't bloody start raining again, or I'm going to really freak out. So there we go, first coat. Right, so for the second coat, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the pressure slightly in the gun, because quite a lot of this is lying flattish, which must mean it's got too much pressure pushing it flat onto the tank. So I'm going to reduce the pressure and take the distance back. I'm usually about 6 inches away when I'm spraying it, so I'll take the distance back to about 8 inches, and hopefully the flake will stand up a bit nicer for the second coat. So I'll do that in about a couple of minutes once this all starts to dry. Just 2 coats of flake down. Isn't really picking up very well on the phone, but looks very sparkly. So what I'm going to do now is mix up 100ml of the holographic, lay that over the top. When it comes to tank, I'm just kind of coming down a bit here, because this bottom section is all going to be white anyway, so there's no need to waste flake in it, you know. It'll just mean more sanding. So I'll put down 1 coat of the holographic flake on everything, then I'll put some clear over the whole lot, and then we'll get it masked up for candies, okay? I'll show you what it looks like with the holographic on. It might give a better representation, but it's not really looking very good on camera, but it looks really good in real life. So this is a holographic on the ruler. Can you see how the colours are in there, as well as the silver fucking compressor? We'll stick that on next. This is a holographic on. I can see it, you probably won't. You have to be in a certain light, and it'll obviously come out a lot better once the clear coat's on it. So next step is to leave this at least a couple of hours to dry. I want it fully dried before I clear coat it. But it's looking good. I like it. It's really shiny. Sparkly and shiny. It's going to look good with the candies on top of it. I thought it's going to look fucking epic. So that's the next stage. But in the meantime, leave this to dry. What I'll do is I'll take a grey Scotch-Brite over it once it's dry before I clear coat it, and that'll just take off any high bits. Like, see the corner there, just in front of my finger, you can see a bit. That's actually sticking proud of the surface. So you don't want to be having to put 6 coats of clear on to bury it, so I just take a Scotch-Brite and knock the heads off the upstanding bits of flake before I clear coat it. And that way 2, possibly 3 coats of clear should be more than enough to cover it all. Right, that's 3 coats of clear on there now. Should be plenty to sand back and hit with candy. I brought this in to dry. You can see better the sort of effect that you get with the holographic. The silver's not picking up too great in the phone, but you know, the holographic's looking good, isn't it? Same with the mudguard tank down there. So once I get some candy on top of that, it's going to pop even more. But I've just taken it in the house. It's drying beside the radiator so that I can get sanding on it tomorrow. And then I'll get it masked up. Masked up for Candy, Yahoo! I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's like with a couple of coats on. That's the thing about painting, you spend all that time preparing it, and it's only now you get to see the benefits of all your hard work. So I think that's going to look pretty fucking cool, personally. It's not everybody's taste, but I like a bit of sparkle myself. So we're sanding this down today. I've not got 600, but I've got some 800 wet, and I'll use that. It's not really picking up too great, but it's looking good. So I'll sand this down. It's the same as the green. It's when I sanded the green one. I'm not going to bore you to tears with showing me sanding a bloody panel flat. I'm sure you know how to do that. But we'll come back when it's ready for masking, okay? I'm still undecided what colours I'm going with. I did think about doing school colours, but without the school decals, it's just going to be a green bike, so I might go with blues or something. I'm totally undecided. I'll get all my candy paints out and see which one I like the look of. That's generally how I decide things. Just another quick tip. See if you start sanding it and your sandpaper looks like this. It's not set enough to dry, okay? See all the bits that it's picked up? Yeah? So if it's like that, leave it to dry another day and then you can sand it. That's what I'm doing anyway. Right, that's us sanded down. We're all ready for masking up. Before you mask up though, I should say I've sanded it down. I've sanded it down with 800 grit. That wasn't really doing much, so I used an orange Scotch-Brite, which is about the equivalent of about 400. Used that, and then I went back onto the 800 just to finish it off and get rid of the 400 scratches. So that's it ready now. It's as smooth as a baby's bottom and ready for masking. Before you mask it, always get your gloves on for a start and wipe it down with wax and grease remover. I'm using isopropyl alcohol because it's in the house and I can't be arsed going out to the shed for some wax and grease remover. It's the same thing, it'll degrease anything basically. So I'll use that, give it a quick wipe, and then we're going to start masking it up. I've done the tailpiece and the mudguard as well. They're looking pretty good, nice and flat. That's what you want, nice and flat. But don't go too far. If you ever see paint picking up in your sandpaper, stop because you've gone too far. Okay, I mean it just looks like silver there, but I don't know if that's going to pick up either. No, it's not really. But trust me, it'll come back to life once I candy it. So I'm just going to wipe it down and then we'll mask. So masking, this is probably the most important make or breaker for any paint job. When you're doing it, strike a centre line like I have there, and then measure off it to the sides, because I'll be putting some tapes down the sides. I've done the first panel of the tailpiece already. Always make sure that both sides match, yeah? You can measure it if you like, or you can eyeball it. You're probably better measuring it, but I've been doing it a while, so I just kind of eyeball it unless I need to. But if you centre line it, obviously I've taken the tape off the centre line here, but if you centre line it, you can just measure out and mark with a pencil lightly where the bottom of the tape will come to. You don't mark the top because then it'll show up in the paint if you miss it with the tape, So if you do that, ping your centre line like that, and then just measure out to however far out you want the lines to come to. Okay. I use verniers. Just don't flip and stab it into the bloody panel or whatever, You won't do that, will you? No, good. And see, when you get to these these edges here, another thing is to not stretch the tape. This stuff is easy stretched, but you're best not to. You can stretch it very, very slightly, going round curves and stuff, or if you're going round a corner, if you've got a curve, like if you wanted your tape to go like this, it'll obviously go round there, but if you try and do it in a 90 degree, it just won't happen. It'll just flip and lift. But you're best not to stretch it, because when you stretch it, it tends to lift. And it also doesn't look as good, you know. So what else can I tell you about masking? That's about it. Always make these too long on the other side as well. That's another one in case you have to rearrange them once you put all your lines on. You think, oh, maybe that one's a bit short, or that one's in the wrong place or something. It gives you something to line up, you know. So what you'll do is you'll take it off the edge here, and then like look along the panel to wherever you're going, and your eye is usually a good guide if it's straight or not. These are straight. You can see that. That's as straight as it gets. Yeah, that one, it looks curved because it's on a curve, but it's actually straight if you look at it. Yeah, so that's the top panel. I'll do this mudguard and then we'll go into the tank, okay? Another one I like to do is to get a bit of paper, and on the bit of paper you can mark where your lines need to go, like so that one there. You can just see I've lightly pencil marked it. So that's where the outside of the tape will sit. Okay. And you can do that all the way down the line if you want it to be exactly the same width all the way, or you can reduce it and mark it, you know, but at least you know that you'll be central if you take it off the centre line. Although I should have mentioned, on the mudguard I'll be using the narrower tape, the stuff on the right. And I'll tell you the reason why that is because this is like a long panel, yeah. And there's going to be like 3 colours in it, so if you put a big thick tape in between the colours, like the side colours will be not much wider than the blooming tape, you know. So it looks a lot better if you just use a smaller tape, narrower tape should I say. The narrower tape's trickier to get straight, that's the only problem, but it's worth it because it'll look better. I might do the same in this tailpiece actually, now that I think about it. Although it's a lot bigger area, it might look better with the narrower bands between the colours. I'll have a think about that, we'll see, because I've already put one on now and it may not taking it off and do it all again. But for the front mudguard, definitely I'll be using the narrow stuff. This is J tape, this stuff's called. The other stuff, the blue one's 3M. Don't use cheap tape. It's shit. I've used it before. The cheap stuff off eBay. It looks like 3M. It's like the same blue. It's blue tape, but it's absolute garbage. And it lifts at the edges and all sorts, and you're just asking for fucking trouble with it. But like I say, don't overstretch the tape. That's really important. And use your centre line. Yeah, some mudguard done. I'm not going to go through every single bit of masking I do, but just to give you an idea. You can see there that's spot on central. Yeah, I've measured it out. I've only measured it in a few places. I measured it at the ends, obviously, because that's important. I measured it in the centre here, and I measured 2 at the front, one about midway between here and the end, one at the end, obviously, and one about here somewhere. But you can't see the pencil lines because they're under the tape at the back here, under this edge of the tape. So that's the story with the first bit of masking done. Just get quite a lot more to do. I've decided I'm going to change these out, I think. Or am I? I don't know, we'll see. Right, we're on the tank again. I've pinged a centre line on this, although I don't really need it, but it will be very handy. I don't really need it because the design I'm going for is like coming from here and it's going round the back of the tank like that. It's not going down the centre, you know, so I don't need to measure off it, but I do need to measure off it, but I'll explain how that's going to happen. So what I do is obviously decide where my line's going to start roughly, and I want it to intersect coming just through the edge of this scallop here, and then it'll come round the back, yeah? So what I want to do is find out where I'm going to start. Now you can see this bit of paper. I've marked in this bit of paper that line, and I've taken it from the edge of this centre line round this bottom part. And what I'll do is I'll transfer that pencil mark onto here. Right, so that's my starting point. And then what I do is I get an old bit of this tape that I've got, pull a bit out, and then just trial and error it until you get what you want. and then you can leave your old bit of tape down once you've got it all spot on in line and everything else, and then measure out from like your cap or your centre line. But what to do is to mark your centre line where you're measuring out from. So say you'd measure out from here, you'd put a mark on it so that you know when you measure it on the other side that you're measuring from the same place, yeah. And if you do a number of marks, like down all the way down the tape, obviously I'll be cutting this tape back to about here once I figure out where the loop's going, if you like. And same in the front. Saying that, there's not going to be much on the front, is there? But you can also measure out from your filler cap recess and just put a mark in the inside here, like so, and then you'll know where you measured it from. Then you can measure from the centre round to where you measured it from to measure out the other side. Hope that makes sense of a fashion, but I'll ping my first line with this old stuff. This old blue fine line tape, and then it'll all make sense, hopefully. That looks like a line through there, but I think it's just a shadow. Yeah, it's just a shadow, thank God. So that's what we're going to do for a kick-off. And then once we get the top line in, it's just a case of measuring from the top line down to wherever your next line is going to be. Yeah, you don't want to measure it from here to the next line because there's too much room for error, And if you get your top tape on properly and it's all equal on both sides, then by rights your offsets should all be spot on from the top tape, yeah. So we'll do that and I'll crack on. This is actually the bit that takes the longest faffing about to trial and error it, But another good one to remember is to make sure your decals are still going to fit where you want them. I've actually moved the line from here somewhere. Where did I mark it? Yeah, there. Further back to nearer the top of the tank because I think it'll look better, to be honest. I might yet change it and might come down a little bit, maybe split the difference. But I don't want the top to be too much darkness, if you like. You've also got to think of what it's going to look like when it's done, So I don't want the top to be like really, really dark green and then the rest of them to just sort of disappear before it goes into the white at the bottom. So I think I'm quite happy with this. When you're going across these bits that come down, the tape will generally follow the line. If you if you keep the tape slack and then just push it along, it'll generally follow a line. And if you look at it from the end, if you look at it from this end down that way, you'll see that it's straight, On the top, what I've done is I've changed it a few times. Originally it was coming down lower, somewhere down here. Didn't look right because there's this coach line to take into account as well, so I'd have been squeezing the other colours in, Obviously the other colours are going to come below this coach line, but I didn't want to have to squeeze them in, so that's why I kept it higher a bit. And I think there's still enough at the top to make it look good. Like there'll be plenty, and there's going to be a decal up here as well, a skull decal. So I'll replicate this on the other side. The same tape. I'm using the wider tape in the tank, obviously, because it's a bigger area. Narrower tape in the mudguard, and I'm going to use a narrower tape in the tailpiece as well, I think. So I'll replicate this on the other side. What we're doing today is we're going to spray the top section and the middle sections. This is going the dark candy green. It's called emerald candy emerald green. So obviously I'll mask off all this bottom bit. Make sure you do a good job of that and make sure it's pressed well into these. Make sure your tape's down well as well. Just run your finger along it and make sure it's secure, yeah? And if you put too much heavy coats on, what will happen is it'll gather, the paint will especially with candies, it'll show up. It'll you'll have a thick bit of darker colour right the way along the line of the tape. It'll look shit. So when you're putting the candy on, go lightly, yeah? You don't want it to be flipping collecting on the other side of the tape. It looks crap. And obviously your decals go on last, but It's just to make sure it fits while you're masking it out. You don't want to mask it out and then paint it all and come back and go, oh, my Suzuki doesn't fit when I want it to. Alright, so we'll put that away before I lose it and we'll crack on. Right, that's taken me about half an hour of fanning about, measuring off of here. And what I do is I line up the holes generally at the edge of this, or you can put marks in if you like. But yeah, about half an hour of taking it off, putting it back on, taking it off, putting it back on, until you're absolutely happy with where it's going. And you'll be golden. So I'm going to mask this all up, mask that all up. I'm going to redo that with the narrower tape, and then I'll mask it all up, and then we can go and do some painting finally. You'll see that I've put additional blue fine line on top of the orange, and that's just to make it easier to attach this sanding paper to, and also reduces the chances of any possibilities of paint getting in under this joint. Yeah, so when you put it on, make sure you press it down. Also take care at your corners where it goes round, make sure they're attached, because that's where it tends to come off. And these parts where it changes direction, make sure it's well pressed down. And then what I do is I put the tape on the paper. There's two sides of masking paper. There's like usually a shiny side and a sort of more matted side. Make sure the shiny side's up, and I also always double up my masking. Yeah, because the masking paper isn't that great for keeping stuff out, and you don't want to just take the chance of some paint getting through. Because what will happen is if the paint sticks on here, if you put too much paint on here, it'll actually go through the paper and it'll stick the paper to the bloody paint, which is an absolute fucking nightmare because you have to sand it all off again and start again. Not that I've ever done it, obviously. Yes, much. And when you're putting your tape on, don't put loads of tape past the masking paper, because you don't want to put adhesive onto your paint if you can. I mean, there will be some adhesive in the paint, but not a lot. And the other thing to know about masking is when you're masking, mask it up the day that you're going to spray it. Don't mask it up and leave it for a week, or you'll end up with glue in the bloody paint, or when you come to lift it, you'll lift bits of paint and stuff. So just do it in the day that you're painting, okay? I've done the same here. I've done the orange line, fine line, and the blue. So obviously once I've painted this, right, and I've taken it off, what I'll do is I'll take that blue tape off very carefully, leave the fine line, and then I can move the blue to the other side once this bit's painted, and then I can mask off of it on this side, if that makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to mask. We're masked up ready for paint. Here's a couple of pointers for you. Change your tape in your fuel cap entrance bit, and when you're going round corners, what you can do is you can fold the tape every so often to get round if you've got a bit of flat paper on it. But what to do is, if you do that, is to go over it again with another piece of tape so that you're bridging the gap, if you like. You can see where I've done it there, I've folded the tape to go around the corner. Same on the other side. You can't actually see because it's under this tape, but I folded it there, where the bits of tape are overlapping. Always make as good a job with the underside as you do the top, because the last thing you want is some of this coming loose. It'll just ruin your day. Yeah, so make sure it's well stuck down underneath, and especially at these parts here. These parts are really bad for lifting, right in that groove. So make sure it's well pressed in there when you start painting, or you'll end up with overspray coming into the next colour. That's the last thing you want to ruin your day after all your preparation. Same with this side. Make sure it's well stuck in, and also at the tops, always put a bit of tape over the top. Yeah, so you're not just relying on this bit of tape, right? Put another bit of tape across the top like that to hold it in place. Right, so that's that ready to go. That's what happens when you get old, you make involuntary noises when you move stuff. Same with the seat, it's taped down on the underside. Like I say, pay close attention to these parts, make sure they're well taped down, because that's the bits that'll lift, or that's the bits that spray will get underneath. Yeah, so that's that one done, and the mudguard, of course. Did this too. But like I say, always make sure you get everything taped up properly. You can see how I've masked, see this bit of tape here? That's just to hold down this edge. You don't want it raising when you're painting. Right, we'll go and get some candy mixed up and throw it at the panels and see if it sticks. But like I say, light coats with the candy. Yeah, and I'll come back when we're doing that. It's a bit dry outside, so that's good. Not a lot of wind. That's my wind gauge. That bush there, if they're flapping about, it's too windy for painting. It's all technical fucking shit here, you know. I've also had a last minute change of heart. I'm going to use these bloody school decals. I'll put them on here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paint one coat of the candy over it, because I don't want these to look silver. I don't want the decals to look silver. I want them to look like a lighter shade of green. So I'll either paint one or two coats of candy over it, then I'll peel the decals, and then I'll put another couple of coats of candy over it so that you can see what they are. And if it doesn't work this time, I'm just going to fucking cry. Right, we're now ready for paint. There's another one sneaking in there. I really prefer this a lot more to my first attempt, to be honest. There's less decals on it, and I think it looks better for it, to be honest. Last time it was just a bit overcrowded. I've only used the large and the medium, because that was all I had left. And I just used enough. I didn't fill the, you know what I mean, use up the rest of them just because I had them. So we're now ready for some green candy. I think that looks much better, you know. I like the way it's sitting around the tank, facing outwards. So I'm happy with that. Happy with that and happy with that. So let's go mix up some candy and go for it. Right, this is how I mix my candy up. I'm standing back because of the fumes and stuff. I put in a 70ml of base coat binder. I've taken it up to about 120, 130, so just under 1 to 1. And then what you do is you get your candy concentrate, which is in here, shake it to death. Then what I'll do is I'll use this spoon, and I'll put a spoonful in, see what it looks like, and go for there. And then that way you'll know how much you put in if you mix up your next batch, if you need to get it the same, yeah? So I'll do that. So that's about 125 millilitres, and I've just put in half a teaspoon of the candy. And you can see it there. That's not too bad, that's too far away. I might need to mix up more, but I'll see how I get on with this, the 150. Just under 150, should I say. I added a little bit more base coat and thinners to bring it up, because it's a little bit too dark, but I think that'll be spot on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick that in the gun, I'll go and give it a coat, and then we'll have a look, gaze and glory, and flipping stand back and be stunned. Right, that's one coat down, wait for it to dry, and then we'll do another. So I'm going to leave that to dry out for a good half an hour outside, then I'll come back and put another coat on it. Okay. Second coat, looking a bit darker. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this to dry, and I'm going to peel off the decals, and with the rest of the candy that I've got, because I'm wanting a darker shade, I've added some more candy concentrate into the mix. Not much, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon. But once I peel these off, I'll give it one more coat with that, and then we should be near the shade that we're looking for, and it'll be looking awesome. I'm just waiting for this stuff to dry, but I just thought I'd show you what I meant by taking light coats. See, if you look at the tape line, there's no build up whatsoever on it, which is what you want. Yeah, zero build up. And when you're doing this, always be consistent. You have to keep your flipping fan, your overlaps consistent, or it'll just look shit if you don't. So make sure your gun's the right distance away, your overlaps are at least 50%, you know, as you go, and then you'll should turn out pretty good. I've actually made a fuck up here, you might notice. See, just below that decal, it's a bit lighter, and that's because I stuck my finger in it trying to push down that decal. That one, just there. I don't know why I bother, because it's not going to affect it, because I'm just putting light coats on, you know, but that's what happens when you do stupid things like that. I'll show you all the warts and all, you know, I'm just going to show you all the good stuff that turns out well. I'll show you all the fuck ups I make along the way, because hey, none of us are perfect, are we? And I'm sure it'll turn out alright once it's done. What I'm going to do is I'm actually, because it's going quite a bit darker in this, I'm going to give it another coat of the darker candy, and then I'm going to peel the decals, but it'll just be a light coat, and then I'll give it another coat of the dark candy after that. Okay, I'm just fucking making it up as I go along, really, aren't I? That's another coat on. I'll leave this to dry, peel the decals, and this is what I mixed up for my final coat. I had to mix up some more, obviously, because I didn't have enough, and I've put in twice as much of the concentrate. I've put in just over a spoonful, or just a spoonful should I say, but I've only made 80 millilitres, so that's like half as much, and I've got twice as much stuff in it. But you can see that's more like a school bandit green than that, you know what I mean? So it should come out well, hopefully. What do you think, eh? Looks good, doesn't it? No, does it? Fuck. Look. Decals have reacted, you fucking motherfucker. So I'm going to leave this to dry, then I'm going to sand the whole bastard and off again and start again. Don't you love painting? No! So yeah, what a fucking disaster. Another disaster with these fucking decals. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sand it all off, re-green it with candy, I'm just going to put stickers on it, fuck it. I'm fed up with this, I'm done with this, I've not got any decals left anyway. But they're pretty shit decals because the plastic, see the top of that hat there, it sticks to the stencil, and I was putting on really light fucking coats, it shouldn't be. Sick as a fucking parrot. Look at that, just fucking pish. So, I'm trying to figure out a way of salvaging this shit show, and the best I can come up with is to sand down all the decals and fade them out into the existing, and then I'm going to stick some of this green flake over the top of it, over the top of everything. That'll just save me having to sand the whole lot down to the silver, because the chances of me sanding it down to the silver without going through now are pretty slim, to be fair. So I'm going to try and save myself some time by using the green flake in an intercoat, and then I'll obviously have to take all this masking off, clear it again, and then I can mask it up again. I'll have my guidelines where to mask to, obviously, because of the flake will be different to the flake it's underneath, and it'll be green, and that way it'll also take less coats of candy to colour it up. That's about the best I can come up with, but we'll see how that goes. Part 2 of salvaging the shit show. I've given this a coat of silver. As you can see, it's not covered very well, but silver never does. So what I'm going to do for the next coat is I'm going to add the flake in with it. So I've mixed up 100 and how many? 100 something. About 140 millilitres. So what I'll do is I'll give that a stir. I'll add a tiny splash of silver, and then I'll add the flakes of goodness, and we'll see what that looks like. Hopefully it'll be alright. Right, I've actually mixed up 220 odd of this, and I've also added some of the mixture that I had from the last time, which is the black and green, a little bit of that. Added a bit more of the green flake, And this is how we're looking. So I'm hoping this will cover those white patches. You know, that's the plan. If I had some green paint, it would be great because I could add a little spot of that in, but I don't, unfortunately. So I've just added some silver and hope for the best. So we'll see how it goes on. Wish me luck. I'm just putting this through my 1.4 gun because I'm not wanting to clean that one out and crack open the 1.8 because it's a smaller flake anyway. It should go through it. I'm sure it will go through it, you know. But this isn't really for any effect. This is just to try and cover up the balls up that I've already made, really, to be honest. So, hey ho. I had a brainwave, and what I've done is I've added a teaspoon of the candy in to give it some colour. So hopefully that'll cover it. God, it's nice, isn't it? It's not too shiny though because I've obviously got some silver in here as well, which will take away from the effect. But as long as I get it to cover that white circular patches, we'll be home and dry. Hopefully, I'll just need another couple of coats of the straight candy on it, you know. So that's what we'll do. We'll see if we can salvage this shit show. Right, the candy concoction didn't cover it, so we're going all fucking Neanderthal on it. I'm going to hit it with black. That'll fucking cover it. Right, we've painted it black, and now we've given it one coat of the magic green mix, which is a bit of silver, a bit of every metal flake under the sand. It's mostly green, and it's looking a lot better. So I'll give it another coat of the green candy, the flake mixed through it. It's actually quite a good way to do it. Actually, it saves you a step, but I'm sure there's a reason why they don't. As you can see, it's a little bit patchy, but that one there as well, you can see a couple of darker bits, but don't worry, we'll sort that out in the next coat. You know, I think every cloud has a silver lining. This is a classic case. The darker base has darkened up the green nicely. It's probably saved me about three or four coats. So I'll get one more just to even out the patchiness of it, shall we say. And after that I'll pull the tape and see what it looks like. Hopefully it'll be alright. And hopefully there's, as you can see again at the tape edge, there's no build up there, which is what you want. So happy days. Another coat and we're laughing. I'm doing the same deal with this candy as I do the flake because it's got so much flake in it. Empty it back into the tub and stick your gun upside down. Let's go and have a look at it. This is after two coats. It's looking better. It's a bit darker. So shall see how that goes. You know, it's got a bit of sparkle in it. It's not really picking it up, but it is, trust me. And I'm quite happy with that. You know, as greens go, it's not far off. Maybe it needs to be a little bit darker, but I've got another coat to go on, so I'll leave that half an hour, give it another coat, and then we'll call it a day at that. See what like, see if we've salvaged the shit show and turned it into a flipping glass slipper. Right, well that's 3 coats now on of the fancy green candy flake with green flakes in it and silver and black flakes in it and pretty much every fucking flake I've got in it. And it's looking good. I'm happy with that colour. That's just about perfect. You know, that'll do me fine. Next on, we'll remove the masking. And, well, once it's dry, we'll remove the masking. Then we'll remask it further down for the next colour. And we'll come back and do that. Hey, how we doing? I'm masking up this tank, right? Here's a quick one for you. I'm obviously going to have a colour here and a colour here. So what I do is I'll mask up to the lower colour. If that makes sense, all the way from the bottom up to there. And then for this top one, I'll just put a strip in and you'll see that I've got just bits of tape that I can just peel off. And then I can peel that off when it comes to painting this bit. Yeah. It just saves you a bit of time, saves you remasking everything, you know what I mean? So there's another tip for you, but you can see there it's got a fair bit of the old sparkle in it. So this is my final design. Next colour is going to be a lighter shade of green here, and then another one comes down, follows the line of the tank. I've also done the seat and the tailpiece and the mudguard. They're all masked up. Tailpiece is just going to be like so. Mudguard's just lineage, obviously. Okay. We're masking up again, and another quick tip for you. Right, when I mask this up, I don't really want the tape onto this metallic metal flake part in case it lifts bits off it. So what I do is when I cut my paper, right, I'll stick my ruler about the width of the tape, like so, and then when I come to put my tape on top, I just line it up with the edge of the ruler and fix it that way, and that way you know you'll have about the edge of this to play with, you know, about the width of this to play with. It won't matter if it goes marginally onto it, but you don't want it like up here and stuff, you know, you don't want the tape, because and the longer the tape's on, the more chance it has of lifting stuff underneath. So like I say, do this on the day that you're going to paint and take it off as soon as possible, okay? And you'll end up with something like that. Yeah, that's probably about the same width as the tape. If it isn't, it's not far off it, okay? So that's what we're happy with. We'll stick that on now. It's candy time. Right, I've mixed up this. This is candy apple green. This one here. I've stuck 60 millilitres of the binder, base coat binder, 40 of thinners. I added in some of these ocean green flakes. Not a lot, just enough. And although it looks, I'll show you what it looks like. It looks quite dark, doesn't it? But when you spray it, you know, that looks quite dark, that. I'll show you what it actually looks like when you put it on the panels. I've only put one coat on so far. But as you can see, that's not dark. That's quite kind of light. Yeah. So, I think another 2 coats, because I've used about 20 millilitres to put all this on. Like I say, it's just a light coat, overlapping. It's not so important, these narrow ones, because you could probably just get it in one take with your gun, you know. But the wider bits I've done twice. So we'll leave that to dry, and then we'll come back out and put another coat on it, see what it looks like. God, this thing looks even worse in the daylight. Oof, that just annoys me. I'm going to have to take this thing to bits and paint it. There is no other option. I can't live with that fucking horrible colour. I don't even know what it is. Is it burgundy or something? It's not like a candy red or like the 1200 is. It's nowhere near it. It's fucking hideous. And it's going. That's the second coat on. It's getting slightly darker now. Not sure whether I'm going to stop here or just give it another coat. I think I might just give it another coat. I don't want it too dark though. Decisions. The next colour is going to be a lime green, so I want it sort of somewhere between the lime green and the dark green. So we'll have a look at my previous pictures and see how close it is. It's the third coat on. I'm quitting at that. That's what I'm looking for. It's slightly darker, but not too dark. Not as dark as the top colour. Looks nice, to be honest. Like I say, I stuck a little bit of flake in it, the green flake. Next colour is the one below it. That'll be like a lime green. I'm going to stick some metal flake in that as well. And then the bottom panel will be white, candy white. So it'll look good when it's done. Hopefully I'll get the next green on today as well, because it's only like 10:30 or so. And I managed to get the first one down, but I just need to wait till it's properly dry before I put any masking tape near it. Right, over on our final green metal flake. This is a lime green. I'm liking it. I'm liking it already. Another coat. I've just given it one there. I might give it another two. I'll see what it looks like after the second one. But it's a nice colour. You know, sparkles quite well. But I think it needs to be slightly darker. Or it needs to be about the colour of that tape. See the green tape above it? Masking tape. It needs to be about that colour. See when you're doing it, before you start, always make sure you press in these bits when it comes round the corner of the tank like that. Always make sure you press them in, and always give your gun a quick spray and check the fan pattern, because what can happen if you're painting a lot of these metal flakes etc through the same gun is it can block the tip. So what you could end up doing if you don't give it a test spray to clear it is when you go to spray it, you'll get a big fucking splodge and it'll just ruin the whole day. It'll ruin everything, yeah. So give your gun a quick spray. I'm going to empty it in a minute. I've just literally done it, but yeah, quite a nice colour in it. So we'll give that another coat, see what she looks like. I'm mixing up 100 millilitres at a time. So as you can see there, I've used about 30, 40 for the first coat. So that'll be enough there for at least another two coats. And you want to mix up at least 100 ml, because anything less than that, you'll not get a true representation, and you'll never match it if you try to. If you're unsure and you need to mix up more, you know. So it's only 100 ml. It's only 50 ml of the binder and 50 ml of thinners. It's not costing you a huge amount. I put a little bit of the old magic flake in there as well. Let's see what she looks like. Camera picking it up. Not really. I didn't put a huge amount of flake in it, but let's see if we can take it out in the sun. You can see it a bit better. Frame's curing well. Quite happy with that. Yeah, let's see it in the sun. Oh yeah, that's better. Gives you a better idea, you know. So, like I say, we'll wait for that to dry, and I'll wait for it to dry, give it another coat, see what it looks like, and take it from there. Right, so that's the second coat on with the candy green. I'm leaving it at that. I'm not putting any more on, because like you can see there, it's the same colour as the tape, which is what I was looking for. So that's good. This one here, this could maybe do another quick whiz just to get it slightly darker. I'll do that and then we'll call it a day. I'll strip all the masking off and show you what it looks like. So there we are. What do you think? See if we can get some of that wonderful sparkly shiny shit on show. It's not really picking it up on this, but in the real world it's looking pretty awesome. I like it anyway. Let me know what you think. Maybe the top could have been that middle colour. Looks fine to me. The top maybe looks a bit light, if anything. I'm not disappointed, like, to be fair. I'm quite happy with that. That'll do me fine. The rest of the stuff's still taped up, because it's not dried yet, obviously. You know, so I'll give that half an hour and then I'll unmask it. You don't leave masking tape lying on too long. So that's most of the custom part of the painting done. That'll do for this week. All I've got to do is some white on it, and I'll get that done soon. In fact, I might get that done and then put the video out. We'll see, just to get it complete, you know. In fact, the more I think about it, the more I'm thinking it probably doesn't need white in the bottom, does it? The silver looks fine, and it's got a lot of sparkly shit in it. So, but I'll see what like the rest of it looks once it's all off. Because I seem to remember that I didn't put metal flake down the back of that tank, so I might have to do them white after all. We'll see what they look like when the tape's off. See what's what. So that's it all demasked. It's not 100% dry yet. No major fuck-ups, really. All these lines at the front are looking okay. None that I can see anyway. Well, there's a slight fuck-up, actually. Better tell you about that, shouldn't I? See the front bit there? Gutted. So, when you're peeling this pinstripe tape off, if you're peeling from that end, always double it back in itself and hold it as flat to the panel as you can and you peel it back, which is what I didn't do there, which is why it fucking lifted. So learn from my stupid mistakes. I mean, I know to do that, I just fucking must have been excited or something, I don't know. But anyway, I'm quite happy with that. I think that looks pretty fucking cool. By the time I get a couple of decals on the top of there, one in the front of the mudguard, maybe one in the middle of the tank or something, I think it'll look pretty fucking good, personally. You know, the bottom's silver at the moment. I was going to paint it white, but I don't know if I can be arsed. I think it looks alright silver, to be honest. In fact, I think it maybe looks better silver because it's got metal flake in the silver as well. And looking at it, it comes about halfway down, the metal flake, but the seat will cover most of that bottom bit anyway, so does it matter? You decide. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think of it overall. Let me know if you're awestruck and you want to have my children. You're welcome to them. And we'll move on to the next part, which will be getting the front and back end on this frame. My good mate, Fat Bloke and a Bandit, is sending me up some spacers for the front wheel and the back wheel in the next few days, so that's just absolutely brilliant of him. Thank you very much, mate. Thanks, Gary, appreciate it. And then we'll start throwing bits and it'll start to look like an actual bike. Alright, that's this video done with. It's virtually all the paint. I haven't got the graphics on. I'm struggling to get Skull Bandit graphics for it. Anybody know where I can get some? Please let me know. I'm just looking for decals that I can clear coat over. I tried a place called Awesome Graphics, sent them the files and fucking fannied me about for about a week and then told me they can't do it. So that filled me with deep joy. Anyway, if you know anywhere that does graphics, let me know. Let me know what you think of the paint. Obviously, there's still some Suzuki or Skoal or whatever to go onto it, but I'm pretty happy with it, like, you know. I think it's turned out pretty well eventually. A couple of little fuck-ups along the way, but that's just the way it goes with these things, you know. So you just have to put up with it, don't you? Next time, we will be back. We will be putting on, it'll start to look like a motorbike. We'll be putting the front end on, the back end on. I'm waiting for a mate to send me up some spacers, which I think he's sent them this morning. So it should be in the next few days. And then we'll get it rolling. Yahoo. And in the meantime, I'm going to have a look at that scabby old pile of fucking crap 600 that I bought. It's not that bad, actually. It's just it just looks hideous with that fucking burgundy paint. So I need to do something about that because it offends my eyes every time I pass it. So we'll do that, and then we'll be back probably next week with another update. If you're enjoying it, stick a like down the bottom. Subscribe if you haven't already. And thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you've maybe picked up a few bits and might help you along the way if you're painting or you decide to take up painting if you're a fucking masochist. Right, that'll do. Catch you on.